Welcome to Pathfix Automation, an automation platform built for creators who love working with APIs. In this video, we'll quickly go through how the platform looks. These are your automations that you have built. You can edit them right here, or you can access the below toolbar with multiple options for you to be able to access easily. We'll go ahead and click on Design and go and click on Create New. This would create a new automation. We'll start by giving it a title. In this case, our first use case is we want to be notified of any event that happens in Google Calendar to my Slack. So we'll start with a title, Notify Me for Calendar Events in Slack. You can give it a description if you want. And we'll select the trigger type. In this case, it would be an event. We'll select the API. Click on API, search for Google, and you will see one of the APIs there. We'll use a connection. It's asking for a connection which is pulled through the Connections tab, right? You can just search for Google and see that I already have activated and connected one account. And we'll select the calendar that we have synced. And we'll pick the calendar from that account. The setup for Google Calendar event has been done. We'll add a new API. This would be to send me a message on Slack for any new event that has been set. We will search for Slack, send message to a channel. The same way we'd use a connection. I have two that have been authorized. I'll pick the one that I want. It will in real time pull the data from your Slack and look at the channels. Here you can customize your message and pull data from a previous call. You would notice this is the information that is being pulled up from Google Calendar. Right? And once you're satisfied with the message, we'll go ahead and test to enable. Click on test. And there you go. Just received a notification on my Slack channel. Perfect. So let's go ahead back to the home page, and this time we will design a new automation. We'll create new, and what we want to do is we want any contact from Pipedrive to be sent to a Google Sheet. Right. So the trigger type in this case would be an endpoint. So anytime this particular endpoint has been called, the automation will run. Great. So we'll add an API. Since it's coming from Pipedrive to Google Sheets, our first task would be Pipedrive. So we'll just give it a title, Pipedrive New Persons, and we'll search for the API. Now this is the perfect scenario where there are no APIs that have been configured and made available to the public. So you can add your own custom API. We click on APIs, select a new API. We'll give our new API a name, which is a get list of persons, and just click on API to build it. The API that we're calling is a get, and we'll directly put the Pipedrive API right there. The body in this case, there's no parameters or payloads to be sent, but you could add query params if required or headers right here. There are three ways for you to initialize this call. You can either initialize it directly or through a connection or manual. We'll be doing through connection since we've already activated and linked our Pipedrive account. And then we'll pick the Pathfix account, click on continue. And you would see this is the output that we received from Pipedrive. We'll click on more options here. So this is just to select the provider. So the icon pulls up here. You can leave it at plus. And the type in this case would be between action and trigger. Since this is an action that we're actually just calling the API, we'll stick with action and hit save. And the API has been saved for use. Now if we come back here and search for Pipedrive again, you will see get list of persons listed here. We just select that, and we move on to selecting the account that we want to use for this particular API, and that's done. Now we need to add the API to the Google Sheets. We'll just add another API, give it a title, send to Google Sheets. Select the API. Here we'll just search for Google. And you would see we do have a few APIs listed here. We'll just go ahead with append rows to spreadsheet. Right. Once we select that, there are a few fields that you will need to add based on the sheets. Now I have a testing sheet that I've created just for this purpose. I'll go ahead and select the account that I connected to earlier. It would pull up all the spreadsheets that are under that account. I'll go ahead and select the testing sheet. The range starts at, it will always mostly be A1, but it would depend on where you want the appending to start. Fields we'll need to select. You can select based on the response that we are receiving from Pipedrive. So we'll just select the name, first name, and the last name. Now you would notice that this is coming from Pipedrive. This was the API call that has returned. Right, so you can add and pull whatever field that you want from the call that was made previously. Right. Google Sheets requires the range starts to be in a capitalized A1 format, so we just change that, and now we will run it. Okay, so the process has completed. Let's go ahead and see the testing sheet, and you would see the entry has already been made. Perfect. So this is how easily you could go ahead and monitor your responses as well. Look at if there are any failures, if the success has happened. You could take a look at what was returned, what was the data, and just have access to all of that. And once you're satisfied with it, you could go ahead and enable it right here, and the automation would run every time the endpoint is called.